Hey everyone! So, welcome back to another video, and I'm super excited because I have 5 flavors of coffee in front of me. As you can see in the title, we will be trying out Zus Coffee, and I may be biased about this because I already tasted some of this because I love Zus Coffee. They're affordable and they're real freaking coffee. And I don't want to waste my money. I initially thought that I would do like a random review of all the coffee shops that I can see and grab, but I just wanted to make sure and not ruin my day because bad coffee really ruins my day. And then I have some food here. I will never do a mukbang because that will not work for me. So I just ordered it because I needed food because I haven't had lunch, and this is already my lunch dinner in one. So anyway, the twist of this video is, as I was saying, I will not do a mukbang because that will not work for me. I'm such like mabilis akong maumay. So the food that I have right now is just for the sake of me eating, but this is more like a coffee because I know that I can drink a lot of coffee. So ayun nga, since my thoughts are rambling and I can't really decide how I wanted to share about my recent learnings in life, especially about living alone. I just have a lot of rambling thoughts that I want to share. So I thought I should start it out with coffee because that's just how I wanted to start everything in my life. It's just with coffee. So I asked ChatGPT to create 10 sets of questions, like all those rambling thoughts that I have. And if you probably know me, you know that this will center about living alone, self-love, me being as a fur mom, just, things that I wanted to share to start off, and then maybe we can like do a different sit-down video. So, ang dami ko sinasabi, I'm so freaking hungry, so I want to take a bite first. And by the way, I have manam. As you can see, in here, I have their beef sinigang in watermelon, and I super love it. This is like my favorite sinigang. So, there's sisig, like, I'm not for mukbang content, you guys, so don't expect me to talk while I'm eating because it's not gonna happen. Before I taste like one of the coffees here in front of me, I wanted to start off with our first question, so let's randomly pick. Okay, so this is the first one. I'm so excited. It's like interview, diba? Parang let's be the boy. Anyway, how do you deal? Oh, this is a good starter. I can talk about this for hours, but I can't because I have coffee in front of me. Anyway, it says, how do you deal with loneliness, or do you even get lonely at all? Sometimes I feel alone, like literally, because I'm always alone, not just at home, but when I go out, I usually spend a lot of time with myself. And sometimes you kind of crave yung idea that you have companionship in your life and that you can depend on someone. You kind of crave that. But the thing is, for me, it always felt like if someone is controlling me, that it's taking my power. And I learned that all throughout my life that it's never going to work out for me if someone is just, in my space all the time. That's the reason why I should be single. If I feel like I needed companionship, I just wanted someone to be with me on that certain point of my life. And I don't think that's healthy at all. But yeah, going back to the question, how do you deal with loneliness? I feel like I never felt lonely, but sometimes I really crave to have like a different setup. Like I don't want to be alone. Sometimes I want to talk to someone. I try to divert my energy or my thinking, especially now that I'm living alone. I always go back to the point where I'm craving for this moment. It's not just about the idea of being alone, but since I am alone now most of the time compared before, now I'm living with my mom, my sisters. Now that I have this situation all the time, it can feel like it's it's normal. You can easily get caught up of the thought na it's boring. And I easily get bored as well. So that's one of my problem sometimes. So I just allow myself to remember na hey, this is what you're dreaming for. You just have to be, I hate saying that you just have to be grateful because that doesn't make a person feel better if they're kind of feeling lonely or they're feeling sad. But for me it works when I try to radically remind myself that this is what I love. And sometimes we can really get diverted with the thought that, especially if meron tayong nakita sa social media na parang, oh, sila, ang dami nilang ganap, like they're always with their friends. You can really get distracted. And parang yung hindi mo naiisip na this is where you're supposed to and this is where you're actually happy. That's why social media is really messed up. Like, I'm not trying to be a saint here and say na I'm not addicted to social media, but I'm trying to recondition my mind and know that you can't have a happy life and actually believe what you are seeing in social media. Like, I'm not saying that everything in social media is fake. It's just that it's a glimpse. It's a one-sided thing. It's not the entire reality. It's different when you get to experience that person than just seeing their photos posted in Instagram or something. So, ang haba na and ang layo na ng sagot ko, but to be honest, I do get that ick sometimes, that craving for companionship. I just try to absorb it and validate what I'm feeling and do not suppress it, like to the point na parang sabihin mo na bakit ka nalulungkot, this is what you like, you wanted to be alone, and now that you're alone, why are you feeling like that? You have to understand that, as humans, we are social beings by nature. So, and also there's a lot of reconditioning that I have to do in myself, and I think we can talk about that later. But to cut my long freaking explanation short, I deal with loneliness by going back to my core and really asking me, like, what do I really want? Now let's try our first coffee, and I'm just going through what I have in here. So I have the ice buttercream latte. Ito, never ko pa siyang na-try, so this is exciting. The preference is coffee. I like it creamy. I think that's the best way to put it. I like it creamy but not milky. So this one has a cream. That's why it's called this butternut cream. Look at that, if you guys can see it. So I'm excited for this one. It's like I like it. As usual, Zus will not disappoint me. It's like a milkshake kind of vibe, but it still has that coffee feeling. It says it's a latte, but yeah, this is very creamy for a latte though. So I will rate this 7 out of 10 just because for my day-to-day coffee I wouldn't get this because I feel like it's great, like it's not total milk, but this is not something that I'll get all the time because I'm still looking for that espresso, but this one has the right, like, it's not bad. So I can't explain it furthermore, but if I highly recommend this, like, it's not that milky, it's definitely creamy, and if you wanted that kind of coffee vibe and you're feeling like you don't need to stay awake, but coffee doesn't let me stay awake naman na dahil I have a high tolerance for caffeine, but this is really great, like so good. So sorry, I decided to finish my food just so we can focus on reviewing this coffee and answering questions. So you can see it now. Finally, that's the right angle. Anyway, so I wanted to answer another question before we try another coffee. What's something you've unlearned about love and relationships? I have a lot, but I'm still unlearning. But I think one thing that I think I've learned a little bit is to see everything in face value. I'm such an avid fan of just overthinking, internalizing, like in general, not just in relationships, but internalizing people's behavior. Did I lack of anything? Did I overreacted? You know, and I've learned that, it's really useless to do that because people will do whatever they want to do. At this point, everyone's in survival mode, and you can only depend on someone at some point of your life, but you can never. I think this is also me trying to embrace the idea of detachment. I think generally that's what I've tried to learn, which is detachment. But what I'm trying to unlearn basically is the fact that, whatever people is showing you, that's who they are. If you're talking about love, if a man cannot give me, let's say, flowers, I would over internalize it, saying, baka hindi ako deserving. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's me. Maybe they feel like I'm so independent that I don't need those kind of gestures. So I would try to, like, lower myself. I would try to be, change my profile in some sense na baka maging deserving ako for those kind of efforts. But I've learned it the hard way, and yeah, I just stopped, like, trying to blame myself over people's action, like generally, not just in love. If that person behaves that way, if that person treats me that way, that's their choice, and I don't categorize it as good or bad. But I just, thought of it now, okay, that's what they want. And they have the freedom to be who they are. They have the freedom of choice, and they can be who they are. I also don't want to be that type of person anymore, to build someone, to change someone. Like before, parang I've always treated men as project, and I always say na I can change that man. I can, let him be a better person. And apart from losing that hope that men will change, I also realize that it's never really my role. It's exhausting for me. Like, you can check out my podcast because I talk about detachment from men all the freaking time. But yeah, overall, I think I'm just repeating myself when I say that whatever people show you, that's who they are. And do not give yourself a lot of mental load, and try to understand where they are coming from. What you have to do is just accept what they're giving you, and the only mental load that you have to give yourself is to answer a question. Is this something that I can tolerate? Is this something that is aligned with my values? Is this how I want it to be treated? And if the answer is I don't know, maybe yes, if there's any uncertainty about it, you guys should walk away. And it's not going to be a linear process. It's always a difficult process for me to just walk away because, of course, you love the person. You're, but we can talk about that as well. The idea of love, and it's not love at the first place. It's just you trying to be. It's just you being very attached with the idea of your relationship. But that's a very broad topic. But yeah, again, to sum it up, do not internalize people's action. Why? You can never tell what that person is thinking when they do a certain thing. And it's literally mind-blowing for me when I realized that, because I came from a very, very, like that era of me, like my Barbara the Builder era is just exhaust the hell out of me, and I can't stress it enough. So yeah, I want to share that life hack at some point because I had to learn it the freaking hard way, exhausting way, tiring way. So ayun lang. So let's move on to our next coffee, which is, I feel like I already tried this out, but I can't remember the taste. So this is the ice shaken double espresso, and I'm so excited about this because I've mentioned you guys that, diba, I really like espresso. So I feel like I already tasted this before because if I saw that it's double espresso, then I would go for it. And if you guys are drinking coffee or iced coffee, make sure to mix it before having a sip because all the syrups, the milk in there, that's important to, get into. This is great too. Definitely a type of coffee that I would grab. Sorry, I still have the sisig here, so I'm gonna eat it. So I would not give this a perfect score just because I've tasted other flavors from this coffee brand, and I know that there's another best flavor, but I think this is best if we have the same preference, if you really like that bitter kind of kick in coffee. So I would rate this 9 out of 10. What's a habit that helps you stay independent and not pressured by society's timeline? I think this is also a constant learning for me because, especially as a woman, we're so much oppressed in this society, and there's a lot of things to unpack, and it will take me forever to talk about that. But it always comes back from the idea of reconditioning your mind and contradicting your thoughts. If you get what I'm saying. Like, if I thought sometimes that I'm not pretty enough, that I'm not acceptable, or that I'm gonna grow old alone, I'm not gonna say cat lady because I love dogs and I don't have a cat, but they always term it as a cat lady, where you don't have kids, you don't have a husband, you live alone. And it's not bad at all. Like, that's my ideal life, to grow old and be very stable and just worry about, small things like gardening or whatsoever. I don't even know how to garden, but going back to the question, I think for me, I really grew up chasing the idea of being independent because growing up, I felt so dependent in a way that I felt very helpless and powerless with my life. I remember, like, waiting for my dad to finally get another job because he has this habit of parang lagi siyang maalis sa work. Whenever it's holidays, whenever it's the time of the year where the school starts, so we have to buy like school supplies, we have to buy like school uniforms and all that shit. So I would always feel very frustrated because and mind you, I was like, I think high school, and I already have that thought of, oh my god, why do we have to wait for him to, get his shit up, and that's the only time that we can get what we need, that's just the basic freaking needs. I feel very, very frustrated. So that's why I started working, I think, early, when immediately as I turned 18, I already started working because I just love that freedom. I just love the idea that I don't have to depend on anyone. So I may not be the best person to talk to answer this because I really crave for independence as early as I can remember, as early as I recognize that I love things, that I love good things. I love having money. I love to, getting to spend it and not waiting for anyone's approval, not waiting for anyone to give it to me. So, but I think in terms of the pressure in the society, I think sometimes I felt like I'm being pressured in a way that get married, have kids, which by the way, I'm not having kids as well. So, yeah, I think that's one of the societal pressure that sometimes, or that most women are getting so far. And right now, my self concept is always, I don't give a fuck. Like, that's why I love having my own money. That's why I love working so much, because, you know, no matter what you say, no matter what's your comment about my lifestyle, at the end of the day, I am the one financing myself. First things first, for you to get into this point is you have to have your own money, and you have to know how to pick up yourself. So yeah, I'm just proud of myself now that I'm thinking about it. Like, you know, as soon as you embrace the idea that you can actually change your life and you have that power, independence is just going to be at your core, and no one can steal that. Sometimes, or mostly, men wanted to steal that, but you have to be very smart about that. Okay, so before our third coffee, let's answer another question. Okay, this is fun because I really like to share about this. Top 3 must-haves when you live alone. So like, I am talking about like the things that you have to have when you live alone. So for me, the first thing that I bought is my induction cooker. My induction cooker is just my lifesaver, and it's just so easy. I never really had the idea of buying like yung parang gas stove, because I know that it's something that I will be very paranoid about, and also bawal din dito sa apartment. But I will never get that. Like, I would always be an induction girly because it's just so easy, and yeah, you know the function of induction cooker. Second is a microwave, because it's really hard to, you know, fry up things. I mean, if you're living alone, no matter how small the portion that you cooked, there will always be leftover. And especially ako, na sobrang sawain ko sa food. Like, I'm craving for that certain food, and then once I cooked it, or once I bought it, like, mabilis akong magsawa. So that's the second thing that I got. And also, last but not the least, is a ref. I didn't say rice cooker, because you can still cook rice in induction. So I would say, if you can't afford rice cooker yet, then just cook in the induction. Ref is just very essential, just because it will save you a lot of money. Because if you don't have ref, then you have to buy small portions, or maybe you have to order your food all the time, and it's just going to be very costly. So yun. And if you have extra money, you can get an air fryer. Air fryer is just the best. It just saves me from all that unnecessary, like yung pagtalsik ng mga piniprito. And if you're also conscious about your health, about the oils in the food, then definitely air fryer is the key. I can talk about like my Reco appliances in a different video, but we're gonna try our third coffee, which is the iced sea salt brown sugar. I can remember that I've tried this as well already. Again, this is not a first impression Zus Coffee review, because I love Zus. Like, anyway, so let's try this out. This is the best. I love this so much. This is again a 9/10 for me, because the flavor is just different. I don't know why I'm not rating it 10, but yeah, let's have another sip of this. Let's answer a new set of questions bago pa ako ma-acid. What's your routine for keeping Chanel healthy? So I specifically included this because as a fur mom, I'm so concerned of, you know, people just buying dogs for birthday gifts, for holiday gifts, or for fun. You know that it's very, and I want to make a separate video about this, just talk about health and all. So Chanel's diet revolves around veggies because yeah, I think I've included it on my previous vlog where I feed her carrots, but she also eats like squash, sayote, but mahirapan ako mag-slice nun. So carrots is just my go-to because it's easier. And then I put beef. Everything is just boiled, no additives. You can add like, I have this parang tinola flavored up, or I know that it's just parang moringa ba tawag doon, but it's just healthy powder for dogs as well, like additives. If your dog is just picky or if you just wanted to add like a little bit of flavor about it, then you have to buy those kind of additives. Do not use salt. Do not, for God's sake, do not feed them table food, especially if your dog has a breed. And I'm not being biased, but you know, they are very prone. Their tolerance in salt is just so small, and it can really lead to serious medical conditions if you're feeding them like table food and all those preservatives added to that. It's just going to, I don't know, I'm so paranoid about Chanel's health, so I always make sure that I really feed her quality food. I don't know, parang ang tagal niya rin nag-AOC. Parang, I think, several years, and then nag-start siyang magka-allergy about it, which is, based on my research, very common for Shih Tzu. And I've asked her vet about it, and because they said the allergy is already inborn, so they have to like inject her like monthly parang allergy meds or something, and I don't want her to be in that constant medication. So I just find ways, and luckily hindi na siya masyado nagkaka-allergy ngayon when I just feed her totally cooked food. Really an effort to own a dog, and it's really like you're having a kid. You have to take it so seriously, and that's the reason why I really don't want to have a kid, because I'm super occupied with Chanel. I think that's the only capacity that I have, and yeah, that's for a different topic. Me being a child free by choice kind of woman is like another interesting things for me to talk about. Okay, so I'm starting to get a little bit of sleepy now because I don't know, caffeine, it's not giving me like, you know, hindi na siya parang pampagising sa akin. And ayun, I'm drinking like 3 kinds of coffee pero inaantok na ako. Okay, so let's answer another question. What made you decide to choose the life you have right now? Especially about living alone and having my own space. I felt like this is really what I want ever since I have my consciousness, because I remember nung bata ako, I would always go to my grandma, and even though they're not that welcoming, even though they're not the best relatives, I still go there because they have a spare room and I get to sleep there alone. From time to time, when I realize that I really love my own company and I really want to have like that idea of getting to decide your appliances, getting to, you know, having that solidarity, having that solemn environment, and just being who you are at your own pace. I think that just makes me want this life more. And yeah, and up to this moment, I'm not regretting it. Like sometimes I really get sad and miss that environment at home where it's kind of loud with my siblings. But yeah, I can always visit them anytime. But this life is just what I wanted. And at the end of the day, I think this is never going to be a bad idea because I've learned a lot. Like, I've been living alone for over a year now, and I've learned a lot about myself. For me, it's the best thing that I did, and I'm so happy. I'm so grateful that I get to experience this in my life. Yeah. Let's try out this fourth type of coffee. This looks pretty. This is the Zus Gula Melaka. I think this is the one that I super love. It's like the sea salt. This one has like that cream on top, which makes it more like salty. But this one is just parang meron silang same like in brown sugar. They both have that brown sugar moment. But this one has the balance. Like it doesn't have that cream because I don't like so much. Like I don't want that foamy kind of vibe in my coffee. It's definitely a 10 out of 10 for me. Now let's go to the questions because again I'm feeling sleepy, so I wanted to complete these questions now. Oh, going back to being a fur mom, what's one common mistake new fur moms make and how they can avoid it? Especially guys, if you got them as small as a puppy, make sure that you review their vaccination and do not expose them yet. Do not let them play with other dogs. Do not let them roam around the house because again, they're very fragile until they complete their vaccination, and always renew those vaccination every year. But yeah, the very first mistake I think is just to disregard their vaccination and just let them eat crap, especially pedigree. Do not do that. Make sure that you feed them healthy because we don't know what they can feel. Sometimes masigla sila and then bigla na lang hindi kakain or whatsoever, and we can't even ask them what's wrong, where's the pain coming from. And I think getting those vaccines just the only thing that we can do to protect them from all these viruses, because most of the viruses at dogs are airborne, so you can't really like avoid it easily. So having that vaccination is just their protection and their shield against those. And yeah, that's really what I'm striving for as a fur mom. I make sure that Chanel just has that immune system and that foundation of like good health. Napipikit na ako sa antok. If you could meet your younger self for coffee, how do you think it will turn out? So this is like a TikTok trend, and I might get emotional at this point. Maybe she will order a latte and I'm gonna order a cold brew, and she will talk about her longtime boyfriend and how he's good, how he's always spoiling her, and how they started very young and up to this moment that she's in college, they are still together, and how she wanted to earn for herself and talk about, I'm getting emotional, and that she wanted to, have her own income, and those, biggest dream is to provide for her mom, and, how her relatives, and cry about how her relatives is just belittling her, saying that she can't achieve anything because she's not good at, she can't even turn on the stove. That's very random, but that happened. And I'm gonna tell her to stop crying because we've been there, and I know that it will get better. She may not have the same companionship that she currently have, but she should not be afraid because we're gonna be okay, and life will be better. And at this point, we're trying to heal with our childhood wounds. I will tell her that we are finally living alone, we do have a 2-bedroom apartment, and that she get to do what she loves to do, and she have a dog. So I think it's going to be very emotional. Like, I think we will really cry out loud in that coffee shop, but it's more of a mixture of, like, achievements and trying to be vulnerable. I'm happy that we get to talk to each other. Into our last type of coffee, which is my go-to every time that I try out a new coffee shop. I always get iced Spanish latte, because I think it's hard to fail on iced Spanish latte, because it's mostly just, half coffee, half milk, with the balance of that sugarness and sugarness and something. So definitely good, and I can't say anything about it already because I'm sleepy. What's the weirdest but most comforting thing about living alone? So it's just me and my thoughts. That's the weirdest thing. Like, you'll have a lot of moments where you just have a lot of things to reflect to, but that's the most comforting part, because yeah, it's a privilege to actually have that freedom to rebuild your thinking, your mindset. And I think that really helps me trying to navigate this life, and I hope that you guys are learning a little bit about it by just listening to me rambling right now. And how do you handle people who think prioritizing yourself is selfish? I'm not offended, first of all, when people say that I'm selfish, because I should be. Especially people whose goal is to take advantage of you. They will always use the term selfish as a blanket statement and say that it's a bad thing. Like, it's a bad thing to think about yourself. It's a bad thing that you put your own personal interest first. Especially if you're a woman. We are conditioned to just, shrug off our feelings and consider other people first before our preferences. And I think I'm just done with that. I'm just done with pleasing people and trying to let them. I never really bothered to explain that, oh, I'm not selfish. I'm always going to be selfish because it's my life and I want to be happy. And I think we all have separate lives to cherish, and we all have the freedom, and whatever we are doing, it's us taking a chance and just enjoying our current moment. And I don't think being labeled as selfish should stop us from doing what we want to do in life, as long as we're not stepping on anyone and hurting anyone with our decisions consciously. Then I think I'm fine. I think they cannot stop me and all my aspirations in life just because they say that I'm a selfish bitch. Like, it's a compliment for me, because at some point of my life, I've encountered an era where I try to please people, and that never brought me anywhere. People just disappointed me. People just taught me that you cannot depend on them, and I think part of it I'm taking accountability on, because I thought that that's really the case. I thought that if you put other people first, that they will recognize that and they will appreciate it. But at the end of the day, it's their own interest, and you should do the same. And I think it's human nature for you to, so do not bother explaining, because you don't have to explain anything. You don't owe them any explanation, because again, that's something that I've also learned all throughout my healing phase, which is still ongoing at the moment. But I've learned that explaining things to people will not really do anything. Like, it will just... Overall, I wanted to wrap up this video by saying to save your energy and, really recognize if you're putting it to someone or something in your life that's not hurting you, that's just increasing your value. Do not engage with people who's going to like try to put you down and put you at their level. Yeah, and I hope that you guys learned something from this video apart from my caffeine addiction. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up because I think again I'm so sleepy, and I'm gonna move a little bit because I just woke up and now I'm again sleepy. Anyway, I should stop rambling now. I should put this rambling moments in my podcast. But thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching me, and I hope that you learned something from this video and that you tune in on the next. Have a great weekend.